examined all the major arteries and veins in the area. She might have a hard time walking, but I think that as long as we clean and bandage it properly, she should be fine. Assuming she gets out of here alive, Richie pointed out. I nodded. He went and grabbed a sewing kit from his living room, something Melissa had left behind. From the garage, he cut a length of fishing line. After sterilizing the needles and fishing line and cleaning the wound with alcohol, I threaded it and began to stitch the girl's skin back together. The girl still lay on the table, catatonic and pale. Richie and I sat in the living room, unsure of what to do next, waiting for her to wake up from her catatonic state. You know what I think? Richie asked. No, but I'm sure you're about to tell me, I said, glancing out the window. Richie's eyes gleamed, his hands shaking. I couldn't tell if it was terror or excitement. You know how the Bible sounds totally nuts, at least the Old Testament part, where they talk about how all women came from a man's rib, and how there were only two people, and everyone is descended from their children's incestuous coupling. I nodded. This was a topic Richie had gone on at length about before. I know where he was going to try to steer the conversation. I sighed, looking out the window again. Other than the dozens of bloody bodies strewn across the street, everything looked idyllic. Just another peaceful street in a small American town. Yeah, and you think it has something to do with aliens, right? I said. He nodded quickly, gesticulating crazily with his hands now.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, think about it. A woman coming from a man's rib? That doesn't even make sense. Unless... He put his finger up. It was some sort of genetic engineering. Perhaps they wanted his bone marrow for its DNA. You don't need to take out someone's rib to get their DNA, I retorted. You can literally get DNA from any part of their body, except the red blood cells, of course. He looked at me quizzically. I forgot just how much you know off the top of your head sometimes, he said, shaking his head. Why not the red blood cells? Because they lose the nucleus when the progenitor cell creates them, so they have no DNA and no nucleus. I thought I saw a shadow flicker across the street, but when I turned my head, I saw just the shadows. A flag waved lazily in the front yard. Well, anyways, they might have had a reason for using the bone marrow for genetic engineering. Why do you think Adam and Eve's great-grandkids weren't deformed mutants or babbling idiots? Richie asked. I don't know, you tell me, I answered. I'm assuming it's because the story is a load of bullshit. He smiled at this. Because the kids were genetically engineered too, and probably the grandkids and so on. The aliens likely kept on changing each individual's genetic code, so these few people could reproduce with their own siblings without harmful effects to the children. They probably engineered all the different races too. They meet the two genders, so why not? Richie explained enthusiastically. I had to give him credit. The whole idea made sense in a weird kind of way. And another weird thing, Richie said, is that you could make a woman from a man, but not a man from a woman. To make a woman from a man's DNA, all you need to do is remove the Y chromosome and duplicate the X chromosome, right? But you can't make a man from a woman's DNA, because the Y chromosome would be entirely missing. The Y chromosome would have to be synthetically engineered from nucleotides, which would pose a huge problem. Much harder than just replicating the X chromosome. There's no way the people who wrote the Bible could have known any of that. I think what's going on now is just demonic, I replied. Aliens wouldn't come all the way here just to take a random monkey and engineer it into the human species. And they wouldn't care about replacing people. What kind of sense would that make? But in hindsight, even though both of us were wrong, I think Richie was much closer to the truth. The girl woke up 15 minutes later. I heard her moaning from the living room. Turning away from the window, where I had kept a constant watch, I saw her rising on the table, her small face a mask of pain and confusion. Where am I? She asked. You're just across the street from your house, I said. We brought you inside. Where's my dad? She said. haven't seen any living people on the street in over 20 minutes. If your dad is alive, then he must have left. There are probably people hiding in the woods until things cool down. I replied. In truth, I thought there was no chance at all that her father was still alive. I walked over to the girl and put my hand on her shoulder. She flinched back, her dark brown hair falling over her face as she pulled away. I'm not going to hurt you, I said. My name's Julius, and my friend's name is Richie. You already know Richie though, right? She nodded. I've seen him a few times mowing the lawn and stuff, but I don't really know him, she responded. Well, he's one of the good guys. So am I. That's why we brought you inside and bandaged your leg. I even gave you stitches, though I don't know how professional they look. They'll do the job until we can get you to a hospital though, I think.
I was gonna put around
My name's Alice,
too, but...
she said, smiling. Red spots rising on her pale cheeks.
Yeah, whatever.
Thanks, I guess. But do you know, at that moment, the lights flickered. They came back to life for a moment, and then died again. Ah, shit, I said. Richie sprang up from the couch, navigating his way through the dark to the kitchen. I heard him shuffling through drawers, and then he pulled out 2 flashlights. He turned one on, and then began to walk over to give me the other. No need, I said, turning the attachable light on the assault rifle on. Its LED light looked blinding, much brighter than Richie's 2 flashlights. He turned and gave the other to Alice. Thanks, she said shyly, turning it on. I went back to the window, deciding to check and see if there was any movement yet.